Welcome to our session today. I am your instructor, CPA Aringo Frederick. In our class today, I want us to talk about taxation. Taxation, you find that is a concept with a very wide scope. And the beauty with taxation is not only for exams purposes, but the good thing with tax is that we'll always gain this knowledge for us to apply the concept that we've learned practically. That's a good thing about taxation. And at this level, more so for those students who will be joining advanced level, you'll be given options to select the papers that you should specialize in. And we know very well that right now, the papers that you should specialize in, we have one of the papers or two. We are talking about advanced taxation, talk about aspect to do with advanced auditing and assurance. We do have advanced public financial management and talk about advanced management accounting. So these are the papers that you will be expected to specialize in. You can specialize in one or two of these papers because we have the first three compulsory papers, which in this case, the compulsory papers for the students who will be joining advanced level from January. Of course, compulsory papers will be having leadership and management, advanced financial management, and talk about advanced financial reporting and analysis. These are the papers which are compulsory papers that you'll be expected to do. For those who are in part 3, or rather for those who are in part 3, you won't be affected by the aspect of specialization till August, right? So on these 3 papers, you're doing them compulsory. You will be having an option to select either 1 or 2 papers under specialization. So, majority of you will be kind of confused on which paper to select for specialization. Some will go for advanced tax, some will go for advanced auditing, some will go for public financial management, some will go for MA. Basically, it will purely depend on you. But if I was in a position to advise on the paper that you should specialize, and of course, it purely depends with what you want to achieve. And I'll give the reason why. If possible, you can specialize in more than 2 papers. And the papers that has wider scope when you are talking about, I'm not kind of ruling out the other papers, but the papers that has wider scope in the event that you want to kind of widen your knowledge when it comes to, of course, if your area is in finance and accounting, you'll find that I'll advise that we go for advanced taxation and advanced auditing, because these are the papers you can select 2, as you've said, so you can specialize in these 2 areas, advanced taxation and advanced auditing and assurance. And my reasons are this. You'll find that these 2 papers, the knowledge, the understanding that you're going to grasp on the same is going to assist us to fit in any industry, to also, if possible, start your own small consultancy firm, of course with the dream of making it big, right? So you'll find that if you go with these 2 papers, they have a very wide scope that you can kind of fit in any form of industry that is existing in our world today. And I'm not ruling out the other 2 papers. For those who are in public, maybe for those who are civil servants, and of course they are either under county government or national government, majority of them will go for public financial management because this is their area of expertise. So in that event, you'll find that for those who are in public sectors, majority of them will go with public financial management and advanced taxation. So that in that case, of course, to widen their scope of understanding when it comes to matters to do with the public financial management, and also to understand the concept of taxation on the same. So you'll find that those in public sector will go for advanced public financial management, which will be good to those who will be in rather for the civil servants, or rather those who are working for government. Advanced management accounting, this is also very critical, and this one is very, or rather it will be very important for the management accountants. I know many a times you normally find it difficult to differentiate between a management accountant and a financial accountant. Two different forms of accountants, right? So the knowledge is almost the same. So you'll find that at this point, those who are in who are management accountants, of course, and not all organizations do have management accountants, but for those who are in management accounting, or rather for those who are management accountants, of course, they can always go with advanced management accounting. And of course, in each and every element that you are going to select, I'll advise, if you are to do two, always make advanced tax to be part of it. If you'll select two, make sure that advanced tax is part of it. If it is one, of course you can go with either. But I'll advise, if you are to select one, you can either go with advanced taxation or advanced auditing and assurance. But if you are to select two, make sure that advanced taxation is part and parcel of each pair that you're going to select. So after we've mentioned that, that was just a point of advice for you guys, so that as you are coming to advanced level, you should clearly understand what you'll be expected to do. So at this point, we say that we are talking about advanced taxation, a very interesting unit, because it affects us in our day-to-day activities. And advanced taxation, what are some of the key concepts that you must always tend to understand? At any given point, this is for those who are doing for those who are doing tax in intermediate level, and for the students who will be doing this tax in advanced level. You'll find that for you to understand and work out tax very effectively and very confidently, there are some main elements that must always be in your fingertips. Because trust you me guys, at no any given point will you ever handle tax practically and for exams purposes if you don't have this knowledge that Mwalimu is going to share. And at this point, I'm not talking like this so that you guys should be afraid. No, we're just looking at facts. For you to be very good in tax, these are the elements that we are going to look at. And Mwalimu normally term them as what? Backbone of taxation. So we're talking about, these are foundation. Term them as foundation of tax. Foundation of tax. We are talking of foundation of tax. Backbone of tax. Backbone. Let me use backbone of tax. Backbone of tax. Backbone of tax. Backbone of tax. At no any given point will you ever handle tax confidently and comfortably if you don't have this knowledge. Number one, you must first of all understand this. That is the concept to do with, taxable and non-taxable incomes. Taxable and non-taxable incomes. B, allowable and non-allowable expenses. Allowable and non-allowable expenses. Number two, what you must be very good at in tax, which you are terming it as foundation of tax will be you just have to understand the aspect known as taxation of other sources of income. Taxation of other sources of income. And when you're talking of taxation of other sources of income, basically our focus is on dividends. Our focus is on dividends and interest. Our focus is on dividends and interest. It will be very important for us to understand the category of withholding tax on dividends and interest. And of course, we normally tend to talk of how many categories? 3 main categories. Exempt, both dividends and interest. Qualifying, both interest and dividends. And also talk about aspect to do with non-qualifying, both dividends and interest. Number 3, you must be very good at capital allowances. Capital allowances. Capital allowances. We know very well that this was a concept that was you looked at your basic level. But remember, there are a lot of amendments and changes when it comes to capital allowances. So it will be very ideal that you guys have a clear understanding of capital allowances. It is not in this currency, it is not an advanced level, but you'll find most of the questions that you'll be handling for tax, the concept of capital allowances must always be there. 90% of the question, computation question for tax, you'll find that the concept of capital allowances must always be tested, meaning that it is very key for us to master that. Then number 4 element, it will be very important for us to understand the aspect of approaches of determining taxable income, approaches of determining the taxable income. For tax, both practically and for exams purposes, you'll find that we normally tend to talk of only 2 approaches, my good students. At any given point, wherever you go, you'll find that approaches of determining our taxable income will be only 2. And the key thing will be, the key factor will be for you to know when are you supposed to use each and every approach, because you can't use them haphazardly. There are scenarios that a certain approach is favorable, or rather is required. There are some certain scenarios that we will be expected to use other approach. And these approaches that Mwalimu is talking about here, we are talking of 2 approaches. These are, number 1, we normally tend to talk about gross profit approach. Gross profit approach. And number 2, we normally tend to talk about reported profit approach. Reported profit approach. Reported profit approach. So basically, these are the 2 approaches that you must always tend to have at the back of your mind anytime we are talking of approaches of determining the taxable income. And as I've said, the trick and the key element will be for you to know when are you supposed to use the gross profit approach, and for you to know when are you supposed to use the reported profit approach. The moment you've mastered the scenarios that you're supposed to use this approach, you will be in a very, very good position, my good students. You will be in a very, very good position. Now, after we've looked at this foundation, the last element, though, is a topic in our tax. This is a concept to do with value-added tax, VAT. A concept to do with VAT. A concept to do with VAT. So, trust you me, my good students, once you've mastered the foundation of tax that Mwalimu was given here, there is no where that you'll go and tax will be an issue on your side. That is either practically or for exams purposes. You'll find that for you to pass this paper clearly, there is no shortcut. The moment you've mastered the backbone, the moment you've mastered the foundation of tax, and this is the foundation of tax, this is the backbone of tax, the moment you've mastered this, you'll find that things will always be very, very easy. You'll just be looking at a tax paper and you just smile. You'll just be preparing your tax statement practically, you'll just be smiling. Because these are the main components of tax. Each and every question that you'll be handling, at least we'll be having this concept. If not all, majority of these concepts must always be there. So what we are going to do as we are starting, or rather as we'll be handling tax, we'll be working out some practical perspective of the same. I know the students who attended our first sessions this week, I know they know what Mwalimu here is trying to say, whereby we will be looking at it practically. We'll be looking at these concepts practically. We go to iTax, we see how it's supposed to be done. We go to our books, we see how it has been displayed. And that is the best approach and good approach that we'll be using for the students who will be joining us for tax. For students who will be joining us for tax, we'll be using a practical approach on the same. So what we'll be doing, of course, on this, we are going to do it in our next class. We will be looking at, first of all, our first backbone that we are going to dissect will be the first case here, and that is taxation of other sources of income. That's the first element that you are going to discuss, and it will be very key because I know also for those who are in foundation, or rather who did it at PFT when it was in section 2, or rather for those who did it while under intermediate, you'll find that at this point, these are concepts that normally tend to confuse a lot of students, which Mwalimu is going to clarify here and clarify very well. So, in this case, in our next session, my good students, you're seeing, Mwalimu is going to start by breaking down the concept of taxation of other sources of income. Taxation of other sources of income. This is what Mwalimu is going to do, to break it down. Taxation of other sources of income. Whereby, as we've said, we will be looking at two. Number one, we've said we'll be talking of dividends income. And number two, we will be talking of interest income. Interest income, interest income, interest income. What we know that both of these, they are divided into three, which will be breaking it down. They are divided into three. That is exempt dividends income. We'll be talking of exempt dividends income. We'll be talking of qualifying dividends income. And we'll be talking of non-qualifying dividends income. The same is on interest, exempt, qualifying, and non-qualifying. So, at this level, my good students, if you have not joined us, time is still there. You can always join MDRASA classes. I'll be the one taking you personally. Personally, I'll be the one taking you through taxation. And as we've said, we'll be working out practically. We'll be working it out practically. Of course, to join us, you can always contact us using the number that has been indicated just below this screen. Or still, below this video, we do have a form, a G form, a Google form link. Just fill in that form, then an email with further communication will be sent to you. So to this juncture, guys, thank you so much, and let us meet in our next class as we will be dissecting the first foundation, as we will be analyzing the first backbone of tax, the first backbone of tax. So to that point, thank you so much, and let us meet in our next class. Thank you so much, and let us meet in our next class, guys.